Welcome to the second episode of the Becoming Roy podcast. I'm your host, Roy, and this podcast exists to help people discover who it is that they were made to be. I am still very much figuring things out, and I'm a little bummed because I just filmed this episode and the battery died. I don't know when it died, so I'm just starting over. And I'm very much trying to figure out a flow for these episodes. I'm not always going to have this setup. I was just doing a project for work. I had it all set up. I don't have anywhere that I have to be tonight, and so I was like, you know what? I'm going to film an episode. It's like episode 2 of the pod. And so I'm excited. I can't believe I'm actually doing this. This is really crazy. But today I want to talk about mental health. I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey with mental health, overcoming some of the stigma and some of those things, talk about what it's meant to me and some of my biggest takeaways. And so I'm actually going to hop right in. I have been in therapy, same therapist, shout out God, shout out to my therapist, since January of 2020. At the time that I'm recording this recording this podcast, it is August 25. So it has been 5 years, which is super exciting. And I first signed up for therapy just because a family friend, I feel like friend isn't even the right word for them. It's someone that I really, really look up to. They've kind of brought me into their family, accepted me as their own. I spent most Christmases with them and most major holidays. And they were like, Roy, you need to do therapy. And I was like, okay, why? Like, I didn't have any blatant, obvious issues necessarily. I didn't have anything like obviously traumatic happen to me as a kid. There were things, but it was like, whatever. And so, whatever. I overcame the stigma that at least was in my circle of, oh, like, you don't need that. I grew up in a very charismatic Christian upbringing, at least since I was 8. Since I was like 8 or 9. And that's a whole conversation for another episode for sure. But it was kind of like, oh, you don't need therapy, you need more prayer. That was kind of the vibe. So anyways, I signed up for therapy, put it off for a long time, finally signed up in 2019, was on a wait list. 2020, we start. And man, it just opened my eyes to so much. I just can't imagine what life would be like without it, if I'm being so for real. Not long after I started, my therapist was like, you need to go and see a primary care physician. And so I did, and I was then officially diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And I don't say that as some sort of badge, and I expect some sort of, I don't know, whatever. I'm saying that because that was really hard for me to hear at the time. I thought something was wrong with me. And again, because of the circles I was in, I was like, oh, like, God, I must be doing something wrong. Because why would I have this diagnosis? And therapy was just, my therapist specifically was just find tools. I feel like if I could define therapy in like one sentence, it would be that I just was pointed to tools for me to do the work myself. So I get diagnosed, I get on medication, freaked me the fuck out because again, the way that I grew up, that's kind of taboo, that's wrong. Why are you medicated? What's wrong with you? You're not praying enough. I had people say, oh, you're not praying enough to me. And it was really hard. And I'm glad I got the help. And also shout out doctors, because I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't think that any of depression is like not spiritual. my doctor specifically, Dr. Kugel, shout out Dr. Kugel. Dr. Kugel told me after several visits, they're like, hey, like, I've shared about what I did for work, and they're like, hey, like, I just want you to know that I'm also a believer. They were a Christian. We have the same worldview, same religion. And Dr. Kugel told me, like, hey, you know, these mental illnesses, we need to fight them on 3 different fronts. There is a psychological front that we need to approach this from. That's where medication comes in. There is like a physical front that we need to approach this from. That's where becoming healthy played in. Just like losing weight, not eating shit, etc. And the third front that she believes that we need to fight these mental diagnoses with is a spiritual front. And I agree. I think it takes all 3. And am I saying that if you aren't religious, then you're always going to be depressed? No, I'm not necessarily saying that. Just in some cases, in my case, I did need to do something more than just pray. And I needed something more than just get medicated. And I needed to do something more than just be healthy. So for me, I've been approaching it on all 3 of these fronts. And that to me was just very eye-opening. And I've had such a roller coaster with depression. I don't know how candid I want to be on this episode, but the lows were low. The lows were very low. And I remember specifically there was this time. Sorry, it is 7 p.m. I don't know why I looked at my Whoop. There's no time on here. It's like 7 p.m. But I remember this time specifically. I was just going through a really dark time where for me, I just want to sleep because that's the only time that I can feel peace. It's the only time I can get a break from my mind and from the thoughts and from everything haunting me is when I'm asleep. So I would just try to sleep. That's all I wanted. And when I get in my funks, when I'm depressed, I'm like, all right, I need to do something that I love and something that I enjoy. And if you know me at all, you know damn well that I love basketball. And there was this time where I was with some good friends, and we went to see a KU basketball game. And we started in the nosebleeds, and we made our way down, and we found ourselves 10 rows back from the court in the student section. Any day of the week, any normal day, I'm on cloud 9. And I was sitting there so sad. I was sitting there crying, actually, very subtly, just kind of like this, hiding my face, crying. And I just couldn't explain why. It was just this deep sadness that was consuming me. And that's crazy. That was like a very low moment. And I had other really low moments. And I say all that because it was therapy, again, that gave me tools to battle those things. And I just can't say it enough, you know? And so I think everyone needs therapy. Unless like no one is depending on you, then whatever. I don't think it really matters. But if you are living for something bigger than yourself, if you have aspirations of being a husband or a father, if you are a husband or a father or a mother or aspirations to be, if you have any type of influence, if you're a leader of any sort, sorry, I'm yawning a lot. If you're a leader of any sort or anyone is relying on you, you have to go, because in the very first session that I had with my therapist, they said life, therapy, relationships, friendships, whatever, the way we relate to people, we can kind of picture each of us on our own mountain. And maybe I'm on my mountain right here and you're on your mountain right here. You can look at me on my mountain and you can have a different vantage point, a different perspective, a different understanding of what's ahead or how far I've come. But me on my mountain, all I see really is the next step in front of me. Imagine I'm in a blizzard, okay? And I have no idea what's coming up, but you can see the storm clears, just a couple 100 feet ahead. Or maybe I'm on my mountain and I'm looking at you and I'm like, damn, they came such a long way from the base. Like, look how high they've come. And so therapy for me is just, I think you can get this in friendship. I don't think this is like the only place you can get it. But for me, it was, hey, you've come so far. And in therapy, it can just be about you. I'm just like my ultimate glazer in therapy. I am just like, I feel like I am great because of this. And I can't say that anywhere. I can't even believe I just said that right now, But there's this like taboo nature. I do think there's a fine line that you walk of like being conceited, being self-centered, being a narcissist, So I'm not going to say out to people like, oh, I'm so amazing, I'm so resilient. But if you've been through any type of shit, how, or maybe you don't know, but can you imagine what it would mean if someone said, hey, this situation that you're going through really shitty, you're so resilient, you're so strong, you are really keeping it together. I see you doing the hard thing. Dude, oh my God, my therapist would say that when I was going through some really hard, shitty times. And sometimes I'd be like, I feel like I'm being really resilient, and I feel like I'm being really strong. I feel like I'm handling this really well. I had a safe place that I could say that. My therapist would be like, yeah, you are. Retweet. And so to have this place where, one, it can fully be about me. So when I'm out of there, it can be about the people I'm around. That's huge. But two, to just have a professional who can recognize habits, can recognize patterns, can recognize these things, can be like, oh, no, this is right. You're on, like, this is accurate, what you're saying. My therapist never tells me something's right or wrong, and they fight me when I'm like, this is wrong, this is right. They're like, no, maybe it just is. Kind of taking some of that, whatever. And so if you are on the fence about therapy, again, if you have anyone looking up to you, if you have any type of anyone, that relies on you, you got to go. You got to be your best self on every front. That's not just mentally. This is physically. This is spiritually, if you subscribe to that. Like, whatever buckets of health you have for your life, you have to show up. You have to do the work because people are relying on you. People need you. And so, a quick reminder, someone explained this to me, and I feel like it really makes sense, is when you're looking for a therapist, oh my God, I need to do these not at the end of the night, end of the workday. But if you're looking for a therapist, it's kind of like shopping for shoes, okay? There are different kinds of shoes, there's different styles of shoes, shoes with different purpose, shoes that like fit your vibe more, whatever. And so the therapist you get at first might not fit you and your needs. That doesn't mean you don't need shoes. Doesn't mean you don't need therapy. It's just, you gotta try again. Find someone that you connect with. I was lucky, and I connected with my first therapist. Amazing. And I don't know what it's gonna be like to not see them, but that's just like not even on the horizon. I'm like, no, this is the person I go to. And it's beautiful because they know me better, I think, than probably anyone in the world, which is crazy. Which is really crazy. But to know me in the depths of my pain, to know me in the depths of my struggle, and how I handled those things, knows my deepest, darkest secrets, knows my things I'm most proud of, and it's just really cool. It's a really cool thing. And so get help, okay? A part of that too, getting help, is, I alluded to it earlier, but I had really dark moments that I really didn't want to be here, and to have someone help me through that, to give me tools to get through that, I wouldn't be making this video right now. I wouldn't have met a lot of you. And so that's me getting the help I need to make this video, make this podcast. So that's that. I want to kind of get into the last segment. I am really trying to. I want to get good at this. I really did just have everything set up, and I was like, fuck it, let's make another episode. Let's just get reps, get some motion going. So I don't even know if this is gonna be good, but I want to go into my last little segment. I need to drink some water because I am yawning. Could you hear that? Anyways, I want to talk about a few things that I learned in therapy that just have been absolutely game changer and now just are a part of me. And if you have interacted with me for any amount of time, I hope that you'll be able to see these in me. I actually have talked about these a lot to a lot of people, and I'll probably make content about it at some point. But the first thing, the first thing is that you gotta put the oxygen. Why am I talking like that? You have to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can help other people with their oxygen mask. You've heard it a million times every time you get on a plane, but that is so true. And it kind of goes into what I was just saying, is that if people are relying on you, you have to be in a spot that you can help. Unfortunately right now, I can't provide for someone that isn't myself. Unfortunately right now, I don't have the stacked evidence, the stacked proof that I know how to lose weight and get in shape, because I am still clinically obese, because I am still overweight. So those are the things that, I have to do so I can help you do it. I feel like I can sit here and say, hey, you need to go to therapy, you need to get help, because I've done it for 5 years. And I'm not like, I didn't beat therapy. I'm not trying to be done. And it's just a journey that I've been on that I'm really enjoying. And so, where in your life do you need to get your shit together? You can't lead someone somewhere that you yourself haven't been. So put the oxygen mask on yourself. Get your help, the help that you need. Get what you need. Fill your cup so you can do that for other people. Kind of ties into my next thing that I want to share is lists are your friends. Routine are your friends. I mean, I just can't say enough how big my checklist is. When I'm in a funk, I just go straight to my checklist. Is my bed made? Is my room clean? Is my car clean? Have I been eating clean? Have I spent time with friends? Like, I have this checklist, and so when I check in with my therapist, they ask me these things. Have you been in the gym? Have you been active? How have you been eating? All these things. And that's just like for me to do when I don't feel right. Because I would even say, recently, I don't feel very good. I don't feel motivated. I don't feel inspired. I don't really feel like I'm really making any progress. I feel like shit, if I'm being so honest. But when I zoom out and I look, I'm sitting down and I'm recording this right now. And I've posted on TikTok every day for the last almost 2 weeks. Now, those are it's like maybe it sounds small, but that's big for me because getting out of bed has been hard. Like, I have not been lifting. I'm still trying to walk, but it's just been a pain in the ass for me to get to the gym, for me to do. I'm just having a really hard time doing, but I am doing. I feel like shit, but I'm doing well. And those lists are like my guiding stars. I'm actually working on a guide right now to where I think through everything I need to do so I can just show up, because most of life is just showing up. You just gotta get to the gym. That's the biggest thing. You know what I'm saying? Get to the place you need to go. But when I can have my list and think through, and I get to the grocery store instead of, Chipotle or McDonald's or whatever the fast food place I want to go. If I have my grocery list and my list is there, I just gotta show up. If I have my workouts written down, I can show up to the gym and I just follow my list. I just show up and I do what's already there. And so lists are your friends. Routines are your friends. They're really good. And I love to be spontaneous. So it really grinds my gears when someone's like, I don't like routine. I like to be spontaneous. Shut the hell up, dude. I literally just have it built into my schedule where some nights I have nothing, so I can't be spontaneous. You know, you can have routine spontaneity, kind of, you know. So, oxygen mask, lists are you friends, okay? I want to say this one right here has been really huge for me, what I'm about to say, and then I think I'll wrap it up unless one hits me. But the last thing that I want to share is thoughts, feelings, emotions. Treat them like traffic, okay? Imagine you're standing on the side of the road at a busy street and you just traffic back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, emotions, feelings, thoughts, they're like the traffic. They're real. And you can look at them and you can address them and you can pay attention to them. You know, if there's a car going by, you can tell me the make and the model and the color and the dents and the stickers that it has and who's driving. Okay, I can identify it. Oops. But I don't want to get in that car. When I'm feeling insecure, I can look at it and be like, this is an insecurity. I'm insecure because I don't have the physique that I want, period. And I can let that car, that thought, drive by. Keep going. What happens to so many of us is we get that insecure thought, we get that thought of depression, we get that thought of anxiety, and we get in the car and we let it take us wherever the fuck it's going. Usually a spiral, usually a crash out. And so if we can learn to identify, if we can learn to address, pay attention, and let it drive by, let that thought, that feeling, that emotion pass on by, man, like that right there is the biggest hack, I feel like. Because there have been so many times, especially like during a breakup, like, oh, why did they leave me? Why didn't they choose me? Like, why didn't they want me? Da 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 da. I could just address the thought and feeling and let it drive by. And sometimes I felt like I was standing in a fucking roundabout and the same car would just keep going by. That same thought. Why this? Why that? Am I not good enough? Will I be enough? Why does this keep happening? Like, whatever. But you can't get in the car. Because when I got in the car, that's when I didn't want to get out of bed. That's when the depths came. That's when things got really dark. When you get in the car, because you don't know where those things are going. And so it's really important to hear this, is that we're not ignoring. We're not suppressing. We're not bottling up. We're looking at, we can address it, pay attention to it. You can get as detailed in your observations to that feeling, to that thought, to that emotion, to that car going by. Just don't get in the car. And so I think that's what I'll leave you with. I have a lot more to say. I'm just trying to be somewhat concise. I want to grow as a communicator. And I just want to continually emphasize how important it is to ask for help. There were some really low moments for me. And if I didn't ask for help, like, I don't know how things would have been. And I'm fortunate. I'm so lucky that I had people in my corner that were like, hey, do you need help? Like, almost prompted me, hey, you need to go to therapy. Like, my therapist, my really close friends, some other people, like, and maybe you don't have that. And so I hope this can be that for you. A little push to get some help. Because regardless of how you feel, fuck your feelings, respectfully. Regardless of how you feel, there's a gift inside of you that the world needs. I've been ruminating on this idea, the statue of David in Italy. It was once just a block of granite. And that beautiful statue, that world-renowned piece of art, was always in there. Just had to be chiseled out. Just had to be cut, had to be broken down. It had to be shaped, it had to be formed. And this trial, this, maybe you're in the middle of your hard time. This could be that shaping. This could be that chipping. This could be forming you into the leader or the husband or the mother or the father or the author or the nurse or whatever it is that you're wanting to be. The pastor, the therapist, whatever it is, maybe you getting help is part of the chiseling, part of you becoming that world-renowned piece of art, that gift that you have, that somebody needs. So please, get help. Put the oxygen mask on yourself, because there's a gift inside of you that the world needs. That is all I have for the second episode of the Becoming Roy podcast. Again, I'm your host, Roy, and this podcast does exist to help people discover who it is that they were made to be. I will post some resources in the description or in the show notes. I don't really know how I'm distributing this yet, but I heard BetterHelp is an easy way to get help, or just look up therapists. And remember, they're like shoes. You do need shoes, but maybe you don't need certain kind of shoes. But that's all I got, and I will see you on the next one.